for today's practice, you want to have a chair. We're going to do some poses that require the use of a chair. Some of them are standing poses, and some of them are balance poses. So go ahead and grab a chair. It doesn't really matter what kind of chair that you have. It doesn't have to look like this. Then when you're ready, go ahead and cross your feet, find your seat. Take your hands to the top of the quadricep. Get your thumbs right into the joint there on the inside, and the rest of the hand, the fingers on the outside of the joint, and then press firmly down. And just feel the length of the muscle as you move the muscle toward the knee. Drawing the navel in as you do that. It's like you're trying to literally create distance and space between the legs and the torso. And then bring your palms together. Close your eyes. And take a moment of reflection as you begin to observe the position of the body, the condition of the body. Begin also to observe any emotional sensations, any physical sensations, any thoughts. Bringing together the physical and the non-physical here. Physically observing the position of the spine as the central axis here in the seated pose, Sukhasana, with the two elbows drawing down toward the ground, the tricep drawing down, the two shoulder blades equally drawing down away from the neck, and the back of the skull lifting up away from the shoulders. The chin drawing in, and the chest moving toward the thumbs. Softening the facial features. And then observing one more key component here, the breath. Noticing the quality of the breath. And just for this moment, this hour, perhaps committing to devoting that time just to you. To suspending all other activities, all other items on the agenda for today, in an effort to be present and to give yourself something that's uniquely for you. Begin to take some deeper breaths here, feeling the power of the breath as you inhale. And the breath, of course, is something we all can return to, rely on. Yogena chitasya padena vacham. Malam sharigasya javai yogena. Yopa karatam pravaramaninam. Patanjalim pranjalir anatosmi. Abahu purushakaram. Shankachakrasi darinam. Sahasrashir samshwetam. Pranamami Patanjalim. Hari Om. Bow your head toward your heart center. Release your hands down, palms open, and lift the head. Open your eyes. Okay. Well, let's see. Okay, so again, if you don't have a chair, go ahead and grab your chair, and we'll use it for the first pose. So just, let me just adjust this. So again, it doesn't matter what kind of chair it is. We just basically want something with a seat and a back, okay? And of course, 4 legs is helpful. So what we'll do here is we'll just stand, place our hands on the chair, and then step back with the 2 feet, and just go back as far as you can go. And then see if you could take the hips right over the feet. So the hips are literally on top of the feet. Press down into the heels, lift your toes, press down into the chair with your hands. And then draw the hips back slightly. Now if your hips are further back than your heels, you want to walk your heels back a little more. And of course, if your hips are forward of your heels, the idea is to bring the hips right in line with the heels here. This is your standing, this is your half dog. Spread your toes and feel the length start to open up in the side body, in the spine. Lift your kneecaps. Lift the quadriceps. So it's literally the reverse of what we did in the Sukhasana. The quadriceps are lifting toward the hips rather than moving toward the knees in that first pose. Then look forward toward the chair and then step your 2 feet forward. And just take your hands flat on the chair and then lift your left leg up. Then bend your left knee and take your right hand and reach back and find the foot. And press the heel toward the buttock and draw the chest forward, right over the back of the chair. I want to get a nice deep stretch in the quad because since we're going to do some standing poses, we want to prepare the legs. Now you're going to take the foot and push it back and let the arms straighten. And see if you can lift the chest a little more. It should feel like a back bend. Trying to get that upper back, that thoracic spine mobilized a little bit more movement. We always want to try to get more movement, more space in that thoracic area. And then release the hand, release the foot, and bring the foot back down next to the right foot. 2 straight arms. And then lift your right leg. We're going to send the heel back And again, we're drawing always when you're lifting the leg back, you're using the gluteus medius and maximus primarily, engaging those muscles of the glutes to hold the leg in position. Then bend your right knee. Take your left hand and reach it back for the foot. I just take the top of the foot and then I'm just bringing the heel in toward the buttock. You can lift the knee a little higher if you'd like, but maintain the effort in the glute. Feel that deeper stretch go right through the quadricep muscles. Chest is forward. And then you're going to start to push into the hand to straighten the arm, and then let your chest lift even higher so you can feel the back bend component of this pose. And then release that foot. And then go ahead and step back into that half dog again. Set your feet right under your hips. I want to bring a lot of action into the legs and the hips right here. So starting again with the feet, lift your toes, spread the ball of each foot. You really do want to get that space between the big toe and the baby toe mound. And then press down into the heel as well and lift through the ankles, the knees, right up into the hips. Press down with your hands so you can feel the armpit chest stretch. And then take your hips back. Take those inner thighs back. And then step forward. And now I want to do the pose, downward facing dog, with the hands on the floor, just to see how that feels. So I'm going to stand here at the front edge of the mat. Big inhale, lift the arms up into Urdhva Hastasana, and then come forward all the way down into Uttanasana. Now you might find that you're getting a much better forward bend right after those few poses that we did with the chair. Then step back with your feet into downward facing dog, the classic pose. And what we're going to do here is we're going to stretch the legs, the lower part of the legs a little bit. So we want to take the calf and feel that stretch in the calf. So I'm just moving back and forth, right to left foot, pressing down into the heel. And as I do that, I might make little tiny adjustments of my feet to get the right position on the mat. That's going to work well for me in my downward dog. And then once you get that, just hold the right heel down. Don't let your hip slide off to the side. Keep your hip in line with the foot. And then push into the left side. You can bend the right knee. Get a nice deep stretch into that calf on the left. And just check the hip, it's not moving out. And then go ahead and straighten both legs and take the full pose. Excellent. Bend your knees and come down. Lift your toes. Spread the toes for if you can. And then extend through the feet, pointing the toes back, and then push down. So I'm going to keep the feet apart here and push into the child's pose with the feet in line with the knees.
And that's going to give me a stretch in the top of the foot that I also feel is very helpful when we do some standing poses. Now lean over to your right side and take your left knee and just extend the knee forward just to get a little bit more length in the shin there, and then do it on the other side. And then nestle the ribs down even lower. And then come on up. Curl your toes under. And take plank pose. Again, I'm lining up my heels with my hips. So a lot of alignment issues here. So I'm lining up my shoulders with my hands. I'm drawing up from the wrist up through the elbow to the top of the shoulder. And then I'm drawing back through the heels from the shoulders all the way back to the heels. And then tilt your hips up and come back into downward dog. And then very slowly, just go ahead and walk your 2 feet forward. Hands to the hips. Inhale, come all the way up. And then we'll go ahead and take our chair. So the first standing that I want to do with the chair is this one. So I'm going to just stand. You may want a block for this one. So grab a block. Take your right foot. You're just going to face forward. The chair's to the side. Take your right foot up onto the chair and turn your toes toward the back corner there of the chair. And then you take your hands on the block, making sure that this hip is pretty much right over this standing foot. Lift the arms up and then come forward into the forward bend and set the block down somewhere between your foot and the leg of the chair. So I love this for the preparing for the standing poses. This one in particular really gets to the area between the glute and the hip. So just try to breathe into this pose for several breaths here. And as you exhale, let go a little more and perhaps lower the block a little bit. I also want to keep this right knee right over the heel. And I'm beginning now to feel the connection between the back of the hip and the low back. Good, then take your block and inhale, lift the block up and step your right foot off and then release the block. All right, so second side. Same thing here. I'm going to stand. I'm standing about a foot or so away from the chair. I'm going to put the left foot up and turn the toes at an angle. I'm going to keep the knee right over the heel here. And I'm going to glance down at this standing foot, the right foot, and the hip stays right over that foot. Then inhale the arms up and exhale, forward fold. And again, just set your block down. As you stay in this pose, you do release a little bit, so you'll find that you can get lower and lower just by breathing into it. And that exhalation actually is really key to releasing the torso away from the hip. At some point, you may be able to turn the block down on a lower position. And just starting to observe now what's happening around the joint of that left thigh.
Now what do I do with that right leg? Well, I keep it fairly engaged most of the time. It's much more supporting when you engage the leg. If you just let the leg go limp, you're not really supporting the rest of the body very well. So keep the leg firm as much as you can. It's okay to relax it here and there, but I'm going to keep the awareness around that. Good, then take the block in between your hands. Inhale, lift up, and exhale, step off and release.
All right, so let's go ahead and take your chair over to your right side. So I'm just going to mirror you here. I'm going to turn the chair like this. And we'll stand just with our feet together on the mat. Take Tadasana. Then step your feet wide. And I'm going to turn so that you should actually have your chair to your left. So don't mirror me, just do what I'm doing. So left foot is pointing this way, chair's over to your left. I'm going to lift the left arm up and then exhale, bring that left hand down onto the chair. And then take the right arm up. 2 straight legs. Lift your right heel and draw it back and open the chest. Then take your right hand to the back of the chair and see if you can lift the left rib a little bit. And then draw the sternum chest forward away from the right hip. And then lift that right arm one more time. Roll the right hip away from the left leg. And then come all the way up. Turn your feet and just bring the chair over to the other side. So now your chair's over, your right foot is pointing, your left heel turning back. You're going to lift the right arm up and then bring that arm down. Take the forearm down onto the chair and you just push into the back of the chair to open and then lift the left arm up. Look at your right foot. Make sure it's pointing straight out. So I don't want it turned in at all. The knee tracks right over the foot. And then the left heel, just lift your left heel and turn that out. And that's actually a cue for this left hip to open a little bit. So the front of the hip there, just opening. And you can get that if you bring the hand down. You can get it a little more. Bringing the hand back down onto the back of the chair here. Not only opening the chest, but opening the hip. I want to feel like this rib here, this right rib is lifting slightly away from the thigh. And then I can take the hand back up. Sternum chest reaching forward in the direction of the head. Big stretch for that right leg. And then come all the way up and turn. And then just bring your chair forward. Keep your feet wide and then just push the chair forward and take this wide standing half dog here. Draw the 2 hips back. Draw the sit bones back. Draw the inner thighs back. Lift the quadriceps. Roll to the outer edges of your feet. And then come on up and pull the chair back in. And then you can jump your feet together and go ahead and stand. up tall. All right, now the next pose we'll do with the chair, I'm going to start in the same position here with the chair, the seat of the chair turned in. I'm going to step my feet wide, just as you did before. And then I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to lift that left arm and bring the left hand down onto the chair. The right arm's going to come onto the back of the chair. And then I'm going to bend the left knee and lift off the right foot. And there I go. I'm right up in half moon pose. Lift that heel. Then point the toes and spread the ball of the foot and lift even more. Now, just as in the triangle pose, this right hip turns out. It turns away from the chair. The sternum reaches away from that right foot. Go ahead and let your body really open. So it's almost, there's a quality of the back bend right here. And then the last thing is bring this left upper thigh in and away from your left arm. And then bend your left knee and step back with your right foot and come all the way up. And then just take your chair over to the second side. Turn your right foot. Lift your left heel. Starting today with the left side first. Inhale the right arm up. Exhale. Bring that right arm back down. Same as before. Forearm on the seat of the chair. Left hand comes to the back of the chair. Then bend your right knee and step off that left leg and up you go. And right away there's this tendency to just collapse that hip so that it rolls down, and I want to do exactly the opposite. I want the hip to open. So I'm going to flex the heel, lengthen the back of the leg, and then reach through the ball of the foot and the toes and lift even more and roll the hip out. That left hip rolls back. Now your sternum chest reaches in the direction of your head. You can let the chin draw away from the chest a little bit. And then take that right thigh away from the chair, right at the top of the thigh. Try to draw it in just to get a little bit more space in the waist. And then bend your right knee and step back. And then turn your chair around so that the seat of the chair is facing you on the front edge of the mat. And then step your feet back to downward facing dog. And this is the half dog, of course. And then walk your feet forward and inhale, come up. Turn around and face away from the chair and bring your hands down to the floor and bring your feet up onto the chair. We're going to curl the toes under and take this plank right here. So it's a very, very horizontal plank. Chest is forward, hands are right under your shoulders, heels are drawing back. And then bend your elbows, chaturanga, and then push back up into plank, and then step off your chair, and inhale the arms up, and exhale, release. All right, now, take your chair back over. Let's see. Oh yeah, so this time what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn the chair so that the seat of the chair is facing forward. And then you can have a seat on the chair. Yay. Turn your left toes so that your toes are pointing toward the short edge of your mat, and then extend that right leg back like that. You may need to move your chair a little bit. Now take your hand onto the knee here and just look at your knee compared to this right leg. I do pretty much want this all to be on one line. And when I get it on one line, I can open the arms. So I have Virabhadrasana 2 right here. And it's very easy, isn't it? Virabhadrasana 2 is really easy, especially with the chair. And we're rolling this right thigh back. See if you can get a little bit more action in that muscle. And then I'm really engaged through this right leg. And I'm going to take the reverse warrior now. Just taking that right hand down, just placing it on the shin or anywhere you can, and opening that left side. Look straight up at the thumb. And then come back to warrior 2. Glance down at that left knee again. What's happening? Look at the foot. What's happening? It stays. The foot is pointing directly to your left. And we're going to take that right hand down onto the floor behind the heel and then finish the pose. Again, very doable pose here. But the form is excellent. The chair provides the opportunity to really work on the form. Now roll your right side rib back. Keep rolling it back, and maybe, just maybe, your upper back will touch the back of the chair. And then come on up and release your arms and sit on the chair for a couple of breaths. And then we'll move the chair over. Take your right foot, point the toes directly toward the right, and then take your left foot and go ahead and step it in line with your right. And look at your knee. Take your right hand onto your knee here. Look at it as it relates to the left leg. You pretty much want it all to be on the same level. And then float your arms wide. I have this pretty much the entire thigh on the chair, so I can feel the sit bone. And I'm literally rolling the quadricep back. Virabhadrasana 2. And then we're going to go to the reverse warrior. Oh, yes. It's a great stretch for the side of the spine. Slide your hand down that left leg. Open the chest. Really engaging the breath here. I can look up toward that thumb. I'm conscious of that right thigh. It does want to collapse a little bit forward. So I have to use the muscle of the thigh to roll back. And then come on up, back to Virabhadrasana 2. Just glance down and look at your feet. That right foot may have moved. So re-establish the position of that right foot. The knee is still right over the heel. And then we're going to come into the side angle pose. Extend through that left arm. Roll the chest open. Now the goal is not to get your back on the chair, but if you roll open enough, you might actually access the back of the chair, get close to it. I'm still drawing that right thigh back. And I'm engaging the left leg, still accessing the outer part of the hip. 2, 3 more breaths here. Rolling open. And then come on up. And release the arms. And then we'll just have a seat. And we'll do a nice forward bend here as a counterpose to those standing poses. You're going to take your feet wide. Lift the arms up. And then reach forward. Drawing the chest, the whole torso away from the hips, and just take your hands forward. Oh. This is more releasing rather than stretching, but there is a stretch involved. See if you can nestle your ribs down a little bit closer to the floor here. And then take your hands through and hands around the front legs of the chair. And then you can round the back a little bit here. Release the head. Good, then press your palms down into the floor between your feet. Lift your chest, take your hands onto your thighs, and push yourself up using your hands on the thighs all the way up. We're going to move into a seated twist right here. So slide forward toward the edge of your chair, and then take your block and put the block between the knees. And then take your left hand back and around the back of your waist. And then if you can take the back of the chair, go ahead and do that and bring your right hand across. Look at your legs. I want to keep the legs very much pointing, the knees pointing forward, and they're very stable. They're not moving like this. And I'm pressing into the block to help keep that stability. And then I'm going to twist. Now this twist is as much for the left shoulder as it is for the twist into the torso itself. So think about that and how you can get that left shoulder blade to involve itself in this twist and in a good way. Bringing that shoulder blade down and bringing the bottom tip forward to open the chest. Press your left thigh into that block. Press the right thigh into the block. Create that stability and go a little bit deeper now into the twist. And then release. Take your right arm and reach it back. I just grabbed the back of the chair there. Now, I like to actually turn the hand so that I take the part of the back of the chair and it puts my shoulder in a really good position. Lift the left arm, bring it across, and there you go. And again, just having that awareness of the knees drawing into the block, the squeezing of the legs together, really helpful. Turn. It's got a few little pops there, it seemed like, in my back, which I think is just, opening. Now press your right knee back into the block, press the left into the block, feel the firmness of the legs, and then twist a little bit more, lifting and lengthening at the same time. And then release. Take your block, set it off to the side, come to standing. We'll take our chair now, and we'll bring it over to the right side of our mats. and we'll stand with our feet. Now the feet are about a leg's length away from the seat of the chair, somewhat like that. You'll lift your right foot, step the heel up onto the chair. I want to keep this left thigh right over, hip right over the left heel, then lift the arms. And as I come forward, I'm very cognizant of what's going on with this left leg. I want to try to keep the hip somewhat back so it doesn't collapse and let me roll forward. And then bring the hands to the chair if you can. Now, if you can't get there, you can put your hands on the thigh like this, one on top of the other, or even the shin. Draw the chest forward. Draw your right hip back, so there's this strong connection between the heel and the sit bone. And then from here, inhale slowly, and this is key here, lift the arms up and then turn and release the arms down by the sides. Take the right arm back up. This time we're going to take the right hand to the foot if you can. Left hand on the hip, and again I want to roll this hip open. It's almost like the side of the hip is wrapping around the gluteus medius here. And it's encouraging this openness in the front part of the hip. And then I'm going to lift the left arm and extend it. I'm still opening from the hip, and now I'm opening also from the chest. Twisting up, and then come up and release. Step off the chair, and we'll go right off to the other side. All right, we'll face the chair. Set your left heel up on the chair. You want to flex that foot. Your right toes are pointing forward here. The hip is right over the heel. Do you see that? It tends to lean forward. So in order to bring it right over the heel, you have to engage it. Then lift the arms up. And as you come forward, just be cognizant of that right hip collapsing forward. And then you can, from the left heel, draw up to the left sit bone. Chest is forward. Breathe into your back body. Now from here, you're going to lift up, turn, so you're pivoting on that right foot, release the arms, and then inhale the left arm up. Extend that left hand. If you can touch the toes, great. If not, anywhere on the leg is fine. Right hand is on this right hip, and I'm enticing it open. Then I'm going to take the right arm and bring it up and over. And now I'm not only trying to open the hip, I'm trying to open this right rib as well. I was twisting the torso away from that left leg. Good. Inhale, come up, and exhale, release. Just take a moment before our next pose in Tadasana. So, enjoying the stillness just for this moment. Close your eyes. Inhale deeply. Feel like as you inhale, you're drawing your breath from the ground through your feet. And that inhalation is absorbing the energy of the earth. It's exhilarating energy. drawing right into the feet, the legs, right through the body. And then as you exhale, let those shoulders relax and let the energy draw back down the back body, through the back of the legs and into the heels and into the ground. All right. Now our last standing pose that we'll do with the chair, again, it's a balance pose. So the great thing about this pose is that you have the back of the chair to help you balance, so you get the form rather than the balance part, but we want to try to get both, and this is Warrior 3. So what we'll do is we'll step a good distance away from the chair. I'm going to step all the way now to the back edge of the mat. And then I'm going to lift the right foot and step it forward. It's just a step. It's not a big, huge step forward. And then I'm going to lift the arms up. I'm going to lean off of the back heel and lift the back heel. And then bring the hands to the back of the chair and lift that heel even more. And then I'm going to lift the right arm. Left heel, right arm. And again, I'm lifting from the glute. I'm flexing the heel, and then I'm pointing the toes and engaging the ball of the foot. Take your right hand down and then lift through. Whoops, a little bit harder to lift through the left side. And then hands down. Bring the heel of your palm on the back of the chair and send that left leg back as you gaze down at the seat of the chair. And then step down, inhale, come up, and exhale, release, step back to the back of your mat. And eventually, of course, we get rid of the chair. We can do this pose. Once you get the form of the pose, we can do this pose without the chair, at least practice it without the chair, with the form in mind. Step your right foot, just a generous step. Oh no, we did that one already. Left foot forward, generous step. I'm just going to lean into the left foot and up of the right heel. And then bring the hands to the back of the chair. Up you go with that leg lifting from the glute. This is the proper way to lift the leg behind you. Push through the heel. Push through the ball of the foot. Lift your left arm. Draw that left upper thigh back. Bring the left hand down. Try to lift the right arm. And then bring that one down. Gaze down at the seat of the chair. And then bring the foot down. Inhale, come up. And exhale, release. All right, so we'll do one more twist now. So with this one, we'll take our chair over to the right side. And again, the seat of the chair is going to face the mat here, the length of the mat. I'm just going to have a seat on the edge of the chair. I'm going to take my block again, bring the block between the knees. I'm going to turn toward the back of the chair and take both hands here and then steer my body around. Observe the spine, the central axis. So everything is twisting around the spine. You really do get some movement potentially in the spine with these poses. If you'd like, you could take the right hand onto the seat of the chair and go a little bit further, engaging that right shoulder. And then release. And just turn the chair around for the second side. Have a seat on the side of the chair. I always slide the hips forward so I can really feel the two sit bones. Put your block between your knees. Turn toward the back of the chair. Still firmness here. Turn. And if you want, you can go a little deeper now by taking the left hand onto the seat of the chair and engaging that left shoulder blade. And by that I mean bringing it down and bringing it forward so it helps open the chest as I turn. And then release. And then we'll counter that one more time with a forward bend on the chair here, sitting toward the edge, arms up, extend forward, reach through, take the legs of the chair, and stretch your back body. Bring your chest forward, walk your hands forward, inhale, lift the arms up, and exhale, release. You'll stand, turn around, hands on the edges of the chair, feet back, walk your feet a good distance back, and then come into upward dog. Notice my shoulders are right over my hands. My toes are pointing back, so I'm stretching the top of the foot. Then hips up and back into the half dog. Let's do that once more. Slowly come into upward dog, point your toes back, push up. Everything is engaged. There's really not very much that's not engaged in the body. Those triceps are working. And then back into the dog. And then come forward and up you go. Okay, now for our next pose, we'll start with a blanket. So look, I'm gonna put my blanket down right next in front of the chair. I'm gonna have a seat on the blanket. And then I'm gonna lift my arms up and place the hands on the seat of the chair. Press the heels forward, press the thighs down. Feel your sit bones. So sit bones are an important sort of junction here because the heels connect. If you connect the dots from the heels to the knees to the hips, you go right into the sit bones. And then if you connect the hips right up into the shoulder blades, you're really working on alignment here. Then, of course, you're going to set your head in a suitable position that supports this pose. And if you should think about this pose as a 90-degree angle. And the head is the top part of that line, that angle. And the heel is the opposite. So there's 3 points. So
heels, sit bones, head. And then release the hands.
Now you will try that one again, this time maybe without the blanket, so it might be a little more challenging, just a little more. Let's see. So draw the flesh of the sit bones out and then take your hands back up onto the chair. Yeah, it is definitely, it's a little bit more challenging. Maintaining that angle. It's okay to push the chair back a little bit as well if you feel like you need, you know, a little bit more distance to create that angle. Push down into the chair, let your chest spread. Feeling those pectoral muscles just open out toward the armpit. Feel your shoulder blades squeeze in toward the spine and then down. And then set your head in a suitable position that's going to create that 90-degree angle. And then release. We'll turn around and come down onto the floor here. Get your hips close to the chair and then set your feet on the chair with the heels at the front of the chair and lift up into bridge pose and tuck your arms and shoulders underneath and lift the hips. Lift your chest. It's a powerful pose because it is actually an inversion. So you're getting the benefits of the inversion with the bridge. The opening of the chest. Lifting of the hips. And then slowly release and walk your heels forward. And just rest for a moment with your legs on the back of the chair. And then we'll try it again. We'll take the heels back to the front of the seat of the chair. If you want to go a little more, you can bring the chair in closer, so you're really in a more compact position when you bend the knees. And then when you lift up, you're more upright. You can take those arms again, shoulders, and tuck them. So you're bringing the shoulders toward the chair, and then lift the hips, open the chest. And then you can just let go of the legs of the chair and open the arms. And then take your hands to the chair and lower your hips back down. And then you'll just stay here for a couple of breaths. Just relax the back body. And then roll to your side and come up and turn away from the chair again. I'm going to sit with my back right against the chair like this. So some of you may need the blanket under your hips for this one. I'll go ahead and put the blanket under my hips just to show you, because it does help depending on the size of your torso. It may help with this pose, getting into this pose. So again, I sit with my shoulder blades right at the edge of the chair. So I can feel the bottom tip of the blade right sitting on the front edge of the chair here. And now I'm going to lift my hips up and bring the head down. And then bring my arms over and onto the chair.
I'm just going to hold my hands on the back of the chair somewhere and then start to lower my hips. So it is a back bend for the thoracic spine. I'm letting my hips just be heavy here.
And then I can lift the head, and keeping my hands there, I lower the hips back down. I'm gonna walk my hands down the back of the chair. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna lift the hips up.
Now my hands are lowered down, and I keep them there as I drop the hips. And try to bring the hips all the way down with the gaze upward facing.
And then lift the head, chest nice and open, elbows out. And then come all the way up. And now we'll just have a seat. You won't need your chair. Just move your chair out of the way. Take Dandasana on the floor. Bring your hands off to the side. Walk your left hand out, bring the forearm down and lift the right arm up. And now push into the left forearm to try to bring this right hip back down. It's reminiscent of a lot of poses that we did with the chair. The toes are pointing straight up, by the way, and the heels are pressing forward. And then there's a little twist. You can actually lean back a little bit. And then come all the way up. Walk your hand over to the other side. Bring your forearm down. I want to get this left buttock to go down and then lift the left arm up and then a little twist, opening. Look at your toes for a second. Make sure they're doing exactly what they should, which is point straight up, heels pressing forward. Open your chest, let your head come back just a little bit. It's a little more exhilarating when you get that upper chest to open. And then come all the way up. Inhale the two arms up and exhale, forward bend, Paschimottanasana. And you don't have to go too deeply here. If you want to go deeper, you can. But first one, just nice and slow, easing into the forward bend. Always a good idea to ease into it rather than push yourself into it. You'll get a lot further. And then inhale, come up, and exhale. Arms down. I'm going to put my head on a blanket and lie down flat on the ground for a moment. Head is on the blanket, shoulders are on the floor. I'm going to bring the 2 feet off the ground and then just take hold of the sides of the feet here with your 2 hands. And then lift the heels straight up. Then take the 2 arms to the inside of the legs, lift your head, and reach the arms around the outside of the shins and to the outsides of the feet. Bring your head back down. Let your triceps press a little bit into the thighs
And then just move slightly side to side. Very slow rocking motion side to side. Try to get a little bit more of your sacrum down on the ground. So trying to get the tailbone to move down and forward a little bit. And then release. Bring your feet down on the ground. And then lift your right foot and cross it over your left thigh. Take your left hand to your foot, lift the bottom foot off the ground, and slide your right arm through the leg so you can take hold of the left shin. Getting a nice stretch in that right glute. And then you can just set the left foot down and hook the right arm right under the right leg, just to hold it exactly in place there. And then release the foot back down. Lift your left leg and cross the ankle over the right. Take your right hand to that crossed over foot and lift the bottom foot off the ground. Part 1 is the figure 4 here. So the hand slides through and takes the right shin. And then once I get there, just gonna access the low back again. Just trying to get that sacrum flat on the ground. Getting a nice deep stretch into the left glute. And then I'm going to hold the left leg with the right arm, left arm, just hooking it under. And then I can just set the right foot down. You see, I don't really need that leg for this pose, particularly if I just want to stretch the glute. And then go ahead and release. And just take your feet flat on the ground. Let your knees fall in together. And let all effort diminish out of the body here for a few breaths. When you're ready, you can take your chair back onto your mat. Feel free to put a blanket or a pillow or a towel over the seat of your chair. Pull the chair in so the back of the knees are touching the front edge of the chair, and then let your arms open. Let go. Observe the quality of the breath. So I'm beginning to completely let go and surrender to the ground. I want every corner of my back body to release. It's almost like with every exhalation, I'm going to leave a deeper imprint on the ground with my back.
You imagine what that would be like if you were to do this in sand, and every exhalation just imprints itself into the ground there. Visualizing the shape of your spine, that central axis, visualizing the imprints of the shoulder blades and the back ribs, and then visualizing the sacral band from left to right, right to left. Begin to bring some movement into your toes. Bring some movement into your fingers. Circle your feet. Bend your knees. Hug the knees, thighs into the chest and roll to your right.
And you'll have a seat. If you'd like to sit on your chair, you may cross your feet. And we'll seal the practice today with the sound of Om. Namaste.